Welcome back to Toyota Sports Talk, joined now by President Biden's chief medical advisor, Dr. Anthony Fauci. And Dr. Fauci, really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show tonight.
Good to be with you. Thank you for having me.
So, Dr. Fauci, I'm going to start here. As you know, opening day for the Nationals is tomorrow, and we still don't know who's throwing out the first pitch. So, Dr. Fauci, is that going to be you?
No, it's not. I did my thing last year.
No redemption. You're good.
Yeah.
So whoever this person's going to be, what advice would you give that person for throwing out the first pitch?
Throw it on a lob and throw it high.
All right. And some serious business here. Obviously, on Monday, Dr. Walensky made an emotional plea to the American people about kind of the numbers right now in COVID-19. And you're probably not even aware of this right now, but within the last half hour, the Washington Nationals just announced that they have a positive case. A player tested positive for COVID-19. 4 other players are now in quarantine because of contact tracing. I guess just a reminder of kind of how things are right now. From an overall perspective, what are your impressions of the direction right now with this virus?
Well, we're in a really critical crossroads here because we were coming down in a very steep decline in the number of cases. And then we reached that point, which is the reason Dr. Walensky the other day was very concerned, is that we've plateaued at an unacceptably high level. We're at now about 60,000 cases a day in the United States. That's pretty dangerous because that's usually the forerunner of taking a surge and coming back up. And that's the reason why we really can't declare victory yet. We're in great shape with regard to vaccines. We're vaccinating millions and millions of people, about 3 million a day. We have tens and tens of millions of people have already been vaccinated. So it's really a race between the virus and the vaccine. Every day we get closer and closer to better protection because we vaccinate about 3 million people per day. So when I say we're at a crossroads, which means we don't want to say victory is in sight, we're done. We're not. We got to continue to suppress the virus. We've got to continue to abide by the public health measures and the recommendations, mask wearing, avoiding congregate settings, keeping outdoors rather than indoors, those kinds of things.
Now, I know you're a sports fan. From a sports perspective, from a competition perspective, how do you think things have gone in terms of pro sports, college sports, even high school sports in this COVID-19 environment?
Well, I think they've suffered terribly, to be quite honest with you. They've not been able to do the kind of, smooth functioning of a season that you'd like to see. There's always the threat. I mean, I'm very concerned and disappointed, and I feel badly for the Nats that they have somebody infected. They're going to have to quarantine a few. That's probably a big downer for them, trying to get the season going on a really positive note. But, I think as we get further and further into the spring, that things are going to get better and better. I have confidence that if we abide by the public health measure and continue to vaccinate people at a very high rate, as we get into the season, we'll be allowed to get more people into the stands and we'll start approaching some degree of normality. So I'm optimistic about that.
And I know you love your baseball, and tomorrow's such a special day in this country, especially here locally in Washington, D.C. The Nats taking on the New York Mets. And as we just mentioned, cases are still spiking right now across the country. So for families watching right now, Dr. Fauci, should they feel safe going to the ballpark tomorrow if they're going to Nats Park or wherever they're going across the country?
Well, most places are limiting admission. It's not going to be just anybody that can come in. I believe that is still the case. And I believe that the Nats are doing that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 5,000 fans at Nats Park.
Right. So I believe if you keep spaced between them, if you wear a mask and you just abide by the simple fundamental public health measures, you should be okay, particularly since baseball is an outdoor sport. And outdoors is much, much safer than indoors.
There's such a there's a big gap because you look at the Washington Nationals, they're allowing 5,000 fans at their ballpark. But then, Dr. Fauci, you look in Arlington, Texas, the Texas Rangers are going to allow over 40,000 people for their opening day game. Is that too much too soon? What do you think of that?
I would advise against that, but that's just my own opinion as a health person, as a public health person. I think they need to really be careful, because if there is, an outbreak that's associated with that, they'll wind up regretting that. So they really better be careful and not try and rush these things.
Yeah, and as you watch this unfold, do you feel like city leaders across the country are doing a good job overall looking at the data, the science, and not reopening too quickly just for economic sake?
It really varies from where you are, from
True.
state to state and city to city. But what I'm concerned about, and my public health colleagues are concerned about, that some states and some cities are just pulling back on mask mandates, pulling back on some of the public health measures. It is too premature to declare victory right now. We're going to win this. As more and more people get vaccinated, we're going to continue to diminish the number of cases that you see. But if you pull back on public health measures prematurely, you might set yourself back and lose ground instead of gaining ground.
Dr. Fauci, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but when do you expect maybe a slow transition of bringing more and more fans back to stadiums? I know indoor stadium versus outdoor stadium, big difference there.
Right. Well, the president has said that by May 1st, anyone can get a vaccination. Namely, you don't have to be in a priority group. It's open to everybody. By the end of May, there'll be enough vaccine to vaccinate everybody. If we implement the vaccine program efficiently, effectively, and competently, which I know we will, because we're doing a good job of it right now, I think as we enter into the late spring, the early summer, we can start putting more and more people into the stands.
And yesterday, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, I'm sure you saw his comments saying he expects to have full stadiums in the fall in all of his NFL stadiums. You just said, slowly getting more fans back maybe this summer. Is that reasonable to expect maybe a packed FedEx Field, maybe a packed M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore?
I don't think that's unreasonable. I think that's aspirational, but I think we can do it. If we get the overwhelming majority of the population vaccinated through the summer, by the time we get to the fall, I think that's quite possible that we could meet that goal.
And every day, more and more people are getting vaccinated. As you said, 3 million people a day are getting vaccinated. But, I talked to a lot of friends and family before this interview, and I asked them kind of, what would be your one big question to Dr. Fauci? And they all told me, so if somebody is fully vaccinated, why should they still wear a mask in terms of maybe going to the grocery store or going to a sporting event? Why is wearing a mask so critical, even though you might be fully vaccinated?
Because the vaccine prevents you from getting clinically recognizable disease. We don't know yet the extent to which it prevents you from actually getting infected and perhaps without any symptoms, feeling well, have virus in your nasopharynx, and then inadvertently pass it on to somebody else. Even though you're doing fine, you're vaccinated. I believe as the time goes by and we get more information, it looks like that possibility of spreading it on to someone else is unlikely. We haven't definitively proven it yet, but I think we will ultimately prove that. And when that is proven, then we could say people don't have to be wearing masks.
And Dr. Fauci, some pro teams are already taking the step for fans to be allowed in the stadium. They have to show proof that they are fully vaccinated. Do you think that's going to be a trend and that's going to be the norm going forward here with these college institutions and pro sports teams for fans? If they want to go see a game in person, they have to show that proof.
Yeah, the trouble is, since not as much as 50% of the population has yet been vaccinated, we're not there yet. So that would, I think, put an unfair burden on people in the sense of if they may be in a category that they were not able to get vaccinated. I think ultimately that might be the case. It will be on the local level and it'll be on a case-by-case basis. Some teams will, some teams won't. Some organizations might, others will not. So it will be decided on the local level.
But as you know, there's always two sides to every coin. And there's some people out there that they may not feel comfortable getting vaccinated. So they're probably saying, hey, how's that fair for me not be able to go watch a game if I'm not vaccinated?
You're absolutely right. And that's the reason why I said that might actually, in some respects, be discriminatory. We would hope that as time goes by, we convince virtually everybody why it's important to get vaccinated. We really do need the overwhelming majority of the population to be vaccinated. That's not only good for them as individuals, it's good to be able to keep a lid on this outbreak so that it will be behind us and not lingering with us.
And you know, this time of year, spring, summer, it's a busy time for families, parents with children in youth sports. They have their travel baseball and their soccer and their lacrosse. Is it safe for children to compete without masks? And what's some advice you would give to those parents for children competing in youth sports?
Yeah, unfortunately, one of the biggest risk areas of spreading infection is sports in school. High school sports. Unfortunately, you see when you have a risk of an increase of an uptick of infections in the community, it's not infrequent that it is associated with sports, with competitive sports and team sports where people get together.
And, you heard Dr. Walensky's plea on Monday. Do you have a plea that you want to share with us to the Washington, D.C. area and the American people?
Yeah, well, two things. What I said before is that we don't want to declare victory prematurely. We're going to get out of this. This is going to be over. We're going to get back to normal. Don't be impatient. Hang in there a bit longer as more and more people get vaccinated and others are staying safe by good public health measures. The more quickly we will get to the goal of getting back to normal. So it's going to end. Don't be discouraged. We're going to get through this.
Are you going to Nats Park tomorrow night to watch your Nationals?
Unfortunately, I can't because of my other responsibilities. But as soon as I can't wait to see them. I can't wait. They're going to redeem themselves from last year and get back to 2019 form.
Dr. Fauci, I'm telling you, your boy Ryan Zimmerman, he's pretty on fire at the plate.
No, I mean, he's an amazing phenomenon. He's got a lot of gas in that tank. I can tell you that much.
I guess he might show the blueprint of taking a year off. You come back and you're better than ever, right?
Yeah, no, he's really hitting that ball hard. He is.
All right, Dr. Fauci, I really appreciate your time and your insight, and hope to see you in person soon at a Nats game.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Thanks an awful lot.